A nation that cannot plan for its people is already planning for its failure. Welcome to Big Story. Today we are looking at the future at risk, poverty, population, and the path to national collapse or renewal. Nigeria is growing, but not in wealth, but in numbers. Our population is estimated at over 220 million today and could surpass 320 million by 2020, according to experts. Yet, we are still relying on outdated data. The last comprehensive national census was conducted in 2006, almost 2 decades ago. Since then, every population figure we quote is at best an educated guess. Why does this matter? Because without accurate population data, budgets are miscalculated. Schools, hospitals, and roads are built blindly. Resource allocation becomes political, not practical, and development becomes a shot in the dark. This takes us back to the Malthusian theory, which warns that when population grows faster than food, jobs, and resources, a nation edges towards scarcity, conflict, and collapse. But modern economists argue that population can also be a powerful resource if it is productive, educated, and properly managed. So the big question is, will Nigeria's population be our greatest asset or our quickest path to crisis? To help us unpack these, we have with us a seasoned voice of the nation, Dr. Kunle Okola, public affairs analyst and respected commentator on national issues. Good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigerians.
It's good to have you again. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's start from this Malthusian theory. It interests me a lot. In 1798, it propounded a theory to say that population increased geometrically, while food resources and all other things increase asymmetrically. Looking at the population of Nigeria at this point, some would say 210, 220, above 220. Do you think our population is a blessing to us?
Thank you very much. Increase in population is not a cause, on itself. In fact, if annexed rightly, it can be translated to strength. But the problem with Nigeria is population is increasing at the expense, of infrastructural development. The population of Nigeria is growing at 3.5 million people annually. And that's massive, 3.5 million people annually with no equivalent rise in provision of infrastructures like electricity and transportation and logistics. And when you have that, then you are going to have problem. People are going to live below poverty line, like the Federal Bureau of Statistics is saying. 133 million Nigerians are multi-dimensionally poor. And that is 63% of the overall population. Multi-dimensionally poor in the sense that they experience poverty in multiple ways. They lack access to things like energy, sanitation, education, health care, and other basic social amenities. And 62% of Nigerian population are below the poverty line. That is $3 per day. That's 62% of Nigeria. And the poverty is higher in rural areas and in the northern Nigeria. 65% of poor people live in the north compared to the south. 35% of poor people live in the south. Now, the point I'm trying to make is that the rise in population itself is not a cause. In fact, it's a blessing if we harness it very well. But if you don't merge it with infrastructural development, then it becomes a cause. Let me give an example, because this is not a rocket science things. In the past, most of our forefathers, they are polygamists. Many wives, my grandfather had, I think, about 6 or 7, many wives, so many children. And once they begin to have more wives and more children, they see it as more workforce in cultivation, because majorly they were farmers. And so you have more workforce, doing cultivation in the farm. And that means that their farm is increased, and overall the produce, is harvested, is also increased. They do this because they know that they have more mouth to feed and more people to cater for, you know. And that is exactly what China is doing. You know, China translate the population increase into industrialization. When you match increase in population with industrialization, then yeah, it's going to be a blessing to us. And that is what we are not doing in Nigeria.
Okay, thank you for that. Let's talk about, because you said when we can manage the population well, it should be a blessing.
Yeah.
But that is not obtainable in Nigeria.
No.
In 2023, a lot of persons called for national census.
Yeah.
The last time we had it was in 2006.
Yeah.
So it becomes difficult for the government to plan adequately for
Yeah.
the people when
Yeah.
they lack the data
Yeah.
that they need.
Yeah.
In 2023, I recall that we were this close to having a national census, but some persons kicked against this because they said, okay, we have election coming up in 2023. Billions of, close to 1 trillion naira was calculated as budget for the census. So because of that, it was scrapped. And ever since then, we've not heard anything about this national census again. Do you think at this point in time, a national census will get us out of this situation?
Absolutely, absolutely. We need a national census to be conducted in Nigeria ASAP, because all we've been doing since 2006 is guesswork, you know. And when you don't have accurate number of people living in particular area, how do you account for the amenities that are going to that area? How do you distribute national resources? You know, how do you manage the people? You know, how do you know your strengths and your weaknesses? The youth in an area, the women, the children, the men. How do you do that? You know, it's just like fighting your life battle in the dark. You know, we need a national census. The one that we had 2006 is still, like I just said, Nigeria population is growing at 3.5 million people per year. And the last one we had was 2006, and then we were quoting about 200 million or 210 million people. You know, basically we should be far more than what we are guessing that we are presently. So I think, you know, Nigeria is due for a fresh national census to be conducted.
Doctor, thank you. We are in a fix now. The economy is dangling. As of 2023, the budget was 869 billion.
Yeah.
Now in 2025, I'm very sure that we should be close to 1 trillion naira, if not more.
Yeah.
Do you think we can afford it? Because a lot of Nigerians are scared. We might need to print money to sponsor that, and that might affect inflation again.
You know, the situation in Nigeria is just like an irony, because annually, budgets are increasing in Nigeria. Annually, budgets are increasing. We move from, you know, millions to billions, then from billions to trillions, you know. And next budget, I tell you, we far, you know, more than what we had presently. And budgets are increasing, but poverty is also increasing. Almost every government comes with a specific poverty alleviation program. We've had so many of them. You remember OFN, Operation Feed the Nation. We had an appeal. We have what is it called? You know, SAVE initiatives. We have Empower. You know, but all these are not yielding any result. The problem of Nigeria is not in policy and ideas. We are not lacking in policies and in ideas. What we are lacking in Nigeria is, you know, political will. You know, we lack political will. There are so many ideas, so many policies that are flowing. And sincerely, most of these policies are not people friendly. They are not benefiting the people. And so when you are, you know, operating a policy that is not people friendly, they are not benefiting the people. You know, common sense says that you have to, you know, reverse those policies. There are so many policies that and ideas that were flowing, that the government of Nigeria is flowing, that are not beneficial to the people, and we continue doing this. You know, you can't arrive at the right destination if you take the wrong route. All right, you take the wrong route, and you expect to arrive at the right destination. It's never done. What you do is that the moment you discover that, oh, I missed my way, you turn back and face where you are going. That's where when we can arrive at the right destination. Doing the wrong thing will never give you a right answer. So budgets are increasing. Poverty is increased. People are being impoverished almost on a daily basis. All right, we used to talk about amenities. People cannot afford amenities in infrastructures. But now we're talking about food. People cannot afford food. And Nigerian government are talking about, Nigeria being the greatest
giant of Africa.
Giant. That was then.
Really?
No, that was then.
But we still have good people.
You need to see. You need to hear some other nationalities make jest of Nigeria. I was watching Nigeria Benin football match, and South Africans that were was on a program,
okay.
And look at the way they were talking about Nigerian. They refer to us in the past. It used to be giant. It used to be giant, and that's because we are failing ourselves. A man who cannot help himself cannot go and help another person. What you don't have, you cannot give. This is the same Nigeria that anytime that there was any unrest in West African nation, United Nations beckoned onto Nigerian police, Nigerian army for peacekeeping. Now we cannot keep peace even in our own nation. So don't say giants of Africa. Say we used to be giants of Africa, and we have every resource and human, both natural and human resource to make us giants.
Okay.
And what we are talking about presently, population, is one of our strengths.
Doctor,
there is not that nation in the world. We have about 250 ethnic groups in Nigeria, and most of these ethnic groups have one or two different languages that are specific to them. There is no nation like that. Something happened to a friend in the UK and was narrating it to me, and she has a 7 or 8 year old girl, a child, and in England you cannot leave that toddler alone in the house. Okay. But she had to walk. So she locked the door, locked the girl inside, and she went to walk. And a concerned neighbor, a white lady, called the police and immigration. And so they came, they opened the door, and they met the young girl, and they said, where's your mom? And she was like, my mom just went out now, that she will soon be back. And they put a call across to the mom that we're picking the child because we are not fit to be a mother. I'm talking about importance, the privilege, the advantage of language. She's an Igbo, and she said, give the phone to my daughter, and she switched the language to Igbo. Started speaking Igbo. They didn't understand, and the girl was responding. What she was saying is that don't let them take you. Tell them that I went to the clinic, because if they take you, I will not see you for the next 21 years. Do you want to go with them? All right. And when they say, okay, after the communication, let's go. Say, no, I'm not going. My mother just went to the clinic. My mother is coming. But they said, but you were cooperating. Say, no, you can't take me. My mother is a good mother. And the mother left work and came and met them there. And they asked the mom, where did you go? And he said, I went to the clinic. She had branched in one clinic, get a card. And, because the words of the mom and the daughter tally, all right, they let her go. That's the importance of language. And it's only in Nigeria that we have that. They don't have that in Britain. They don't have that in the UK. So population, increase in population could be harnessed to be an advantage. But we are not making use of human strength that we have in Nigeria. We are allowing other nations to make use of it. Go to any nation in the world. Okay, you see Nigerians doing exploit. Nigerians doing exploit in medicine, in sciences, in arts, anywhere in the world, But our own government do not appreciate our people. Ordinary census we have not conducted for how many years? Where is that done? You don't even know how many people you are. It's like a man that is the head of the family, and you don't know the number of people that you have in your family. How do you provide for the family when you don't know the number of people that you have to cater for?
You are very spot on. Let's talk about data now.
Yeah.
You mentioned something around it.
Yeah.
Some persons, were angry about the last election. Some regions in Nigeria,
Yeah.
they said some individuals deliberately inflated some of the numbers, because they want to collect more resources from the government. And that's the fear of so many today, to say that if we conduct another census, some persons will deliberately inflate the numbers to their own advantage. How can we tackle that? Because data is very important.
It's the government, like I was saying, political will. It is the government, especially the federal government, that will have to wield that power. The 2005 census or 2006, that ones that we had, we had information that in some parts of Nigeria, even cows were counted.
As humans.
As humans. Even cows were counted. Because they know that the higher the number of people in that region, the higher the infrastructures and amenities and resources from the federal government to that place. So it's the federal government that will not allow that if we are going to have a true and a picture of what Nigeria looks like. We have to fight corruption in this nation. We have to, and it has to start from the federal government. Recently, the federal government procured about 2,000 tractors to give to farmers. All right. And now we're asking question, where are those tractors? How were they distributed?
Where are the farmers?
Where the farmers? Did the tractors actually get to the real farmers? Because there are fake farmers. Anytime there is any grant for farmers, you have people that are not even, they've not even cut grass in their lives. They begin to come out as farmers, and these are the people that that benefit. All right. So where are those tractors? Recently, about 2-3 months ago, the central bank, in conjunction with the federal government, decided to give farmers fertilizers.
Okay. Every
state governors collected at least 40 trucks of fertilizers. Ministers got their own slots. House of Representative members got their own slots. The senators got their own slot for onward delivery to the farmers in their individual constituencies. But you know what we heard? We heard that some individuals were selling this, fertilizers, to farmers. So, if we are going to have anything credible, not just a census, election is coming. If we are going to have anything credible in this nation, the federal government must be willing to fight corruption. Let's have a free and a fair, census in this nation, and it begins with the federal government. Because if the numbers are influenced, then we have failed, because some people will have advantage over some other people, and that is the way things has been in this nation, and it has got to stop.
It's so sad, because I believe if you enter the United States today, I mean, they will have all your records. So that's why it's easy for them to trace criminals. I believe if you can get census right, then we can actually tackle insecurity as well.
Absolutely.
Can we begin to learn from this, developed nations? Because I believe as a country that is categorized as a third world country, we take a lot of risk that even developed countries don't take, rather than learn from them.
It's because we don't really care. We don't place the right value on human lives. That's why we do what we do in this nation. We major on the minors and we minor on the majors. As long as some individuals, very few individuals, the people that are in charge of the economy of this nation, they are very few. Like about 2.4% Nigerians get. From statistics, about 2.4 Nigerians get 200,000 naira, monthly, and about 5% got, 500,000 naira monthly as salaries, and you have about 1.2% that are enormously and stupendously rich. That when you are talking about the richest in Africa, richer both men and women, you are mentioning Nigeria, yet the whole nation is impoverished, and it's high time the government of Nigeria did something about that, because population has to be harnessed properly. We have to learn, like you rightly said, from another nation. Look at what is happening in China. Our population is not up to half of that of China. But go to China today, right from primary school, right from I saw a post on the Facebook, comparing our own primary activities with China primary activities. During the end of the year party that we normally do, our children will be dancing, cultural dance, blah blah. During their own, they're going to the farm, they're going to teaching them electronics, they're teaching them, how to industrialize, their area, having that mentality right from primary school. A friend of mine went to China and went to use the loo at the airport. As you're, peeing like this, once you finish, a script will come out from the board analyzing your health status. Analyzing your health status free of charge. So I collected and saw the lipid, everything. I said, this is massive. You know how much you spend in Nigeria to do a checkup? Or every time you go to the toilet, and after peeing, it comes out to you. That's development. That's industrialization. We must bring industrialization back to Nigeria, and we can do it. Go to Beijing.
Is the environment conducive for it?
The environment can be conducive. I know we're talking about banditry and kidnapping and terrorism. This morning I was hearing that ISWAP are saying that they're going to launch an attack on Ondo State and Kwara State. What an effrontery! What an effrontery! I saw a video yesterday. I almost was weeping for Nigeria. There was a wedding in Katsina, and bandits came from the bush to attend the wedding. About 400 of them carrying sophisticated weapons on their bicycle, 2 on a bicycle, and they attended the wedding freely. There are police, there were police, there were military men, and these guys dominated the environment. And after the wedding, they left back, and nothing was happening. And I was saying that, are we really fighting insecurity in this nation? No, we can't be fighting insecurity in this nation. And these people, we have that boldness, that effrontery to come out en masse with their weapons, attended the wedding, danced, they were dancing with their guns on their shoulder, and left peacefully. Nigeria is becoming a joke. It's as much as I hate to say that, but when you see things happening in Nigeria, you begin to wonder, are we really, really serious, people? If we are serious, will government be having a peace talk with terrorists? With bandits? Will our government will be doing that? What are the basic rule of engagement when it comes to fighting terrorism? You don't negotiate peace with bandits, with terrorists. Once a terrorist is always a terrorist. They have that mentality. And the mentality is to kill, to disrupt the government activities. And you're having meetings with them. You are sending bandits because they tell you that they are repentant, sending them abroad.
Even into the army.
Into the army. Can you imagine that? Are we serious? Do we actually know what we are doing? And that's why we are becoming laughing stocks to some other nations of the world. They look at us and they say, are we really serious? With the enormous natural resources that we have. I lived in the UK. There was a time that I moved around from north, I left London, went to Liverpool, went to Newcastle. I was going everywhere. I want to see the natural resources that these people had. They've got none. They've got none.
And they are doing so well.
And they are doing so well. UK has a reserve, in their reserve, the oil that they will use 20 years. If all the nations supplying them oil stop, Pengasen alone just they've not really went on strike, planning to strike. There's inflation on the price of petrol in Nigeria. And we are the number 4, number 5 when it comes to production of oil in the world. Do we know what we are doing? You are driving in the streets of Kuwait, in the streets of Saudi Arabia, on the street, your petrol is finishing. You can park on the highway. There are tunnels with nozzles that you can take and fill your car and leave, as long as you're a citizen. because it's a natural resources to benefit you. All right, but our natural resource is a burden to us.
Doctor,
it's a burden to us.
Do you think all of those things are obtainable in the UK and the US because laws work over there?
Yeah.
Do you think laws also work over here in Nigeria?
Our judiciary is also compromised. If judiciary is not compromised, how on earth will somebody be reminded for 7 years, 8 years, without attending a court once? How on earth will the judiciary recommend to the federal government that criminals be given presidential pardons? I'm talking of real criminals. How would judiciary, recommend that to the government? So, law is for the feebles and the weaklings in Nigeria. Like somebody said, it's not for the strong. If you are strong, if you are wealthy, if you are influential, you are above the law in Nigeria. You can do anything and go scot-free with it. There are people that have made a flamboyant statements, in Nigeria, and nothing happens. Somebody was on the social media and was saying, "I give command to all Igbos in Lagos, destroy them, kill the Yorubas, kill them." And you think that the next day this person should be apprehended, but nothing will happen. There are former convicted criminals in these nations that are living large in some other nation of and we feel that they're in prisons, and they're somewhere there. Where is the killer of Delegua? Where is the killer? And things like that. So law is for the feebles and the weaklings in Nigeria. If you are not strong, please keep the law. But if you are very strong and influential, you can do anything and go scot-free with Nigeria. And an end must come to that. Because Nigeria is not a nation until the son of nobody can rise to become somebody without the influence of anybody. If we can't get there, then we are not a nation.
It's a sad situation. You spoke about China, and China interests me a lot. Yeah. There was a time China had it more serious than what Nigeria is going through at the time. Yeah. And so they adopted population control to say, as a family, you are allowed to give birth to this number of children. Yeah. There are even complaints about the government at the time that some persons will give birth to 10, 20 children that they cannot cater for. Yeah. Do you think population control is a way out in Nigeria? If yes, how can we achieve that?
The government of Nigeria, should pursue both population control and productivity growth. It's not just population control, but with productivity growth. If you embark on population control alone, without productivity growth, we're still going to be where we are. And that's what we want to learn from China, is population control with industrialization. That is what will make us, to be a blessed nation. All right. There are people making policies for the federal government. They know how they can go about curbing the population of Nigeria. The truth is that Nigeria is it's highly recommendable that we embark on population control. Okay. There are people that are giving birth to children that they cannot cater for. And if you give birth to children you cannot cater for, they're going to be a burden to people who give birth to children that they can cater for. Because no way, man must live. All right? And so if the children of the poor cannot sleep, then the children of the rich also will not be able to sleep, because the children of the poor will be troubling the children of the rich. So the government must do something about that. And that is what most of our leaders are forgetting. They think that as long as I'm in power, I'm secured, my family is secured, to hell with the poor. No, you are creating problem for your own children. You are creating enormous problem for your own children. If you don't cater for them one way or the other, they are going to be a burden to your own children. And that's why most of them, I'm talking of the elites in Nigeria, cannot have their children raised in Nigeria. They are abroad. you know. But a time might come that, you know, policies, national policies, you know, and these children have to come back home. They can't survive here because they are not used to this place. And somebody asked me, is Nigeria a good place to live? I said, Nigeria is one of the best places
To live.
to live. One of the best places, rather, to live. By the grace of God, I've lived in many places, you know, outside Nigeria. I can tell you assuredly that Nigeria is one of the best places on earth to live. All right, we have it all. You know, I mean, I can't walk on the street and be looking at myself, looking at my color and looking at myself. You know, this is who we are.
The brown skin.
Yeah, this is who we, the skin coloration. This is who we are. I will never forget an incident. You know, I was on the underground. I was going to work in the UK. That was around 2000. It's dying down now, you know. But no how now will raise up his ugly head. That's why you see the footballers, before they play their match over the weekend, they will kneel down on the field and they said, no discrimination in England, no discrimination in this, because it's happening. All right. I entered the train. All right. I sat down, you know, on the couch. I was the only person there. All right. And a black woman came, sat beside me, and there's still about 6 or 7 spaces. And at the it was the Piccadilly line. At the other stop, you know, some group of whites, about 4 or 5 of them, 2 women and 3 men, elderly, came in and we moved for them. They refused to sit down with us. They stood and hung. I felt so bad. I felt so bad. And the other person was like, I'm used to it. That's what
It started way long, like hundreds of years
that's
ago.
what you do. You can't have that here. Nobody will look at you and say you are black, you are skin. And it's all in the mentality.
But then some don't do
You know?
it. I think it's
Yes,
necessary
some
that we
do.
clarify
It's actually,
that. Some don't do
it's
that.
dying. Some are wise. You know, it's just skin deep.
Yeah, there are some universities in the UK.
The lung,
Yeah.
you know, the heart of a black man, you know, will help a dying white man. Our internal organs does not recognize skin coloration. You know, so those that are wise and educated, because most of them are not educated as well, they understand. What I'm trying to say is that here in this place, nobody can do that to you. All right, we are people oriented. You know, I lived in a house in the UK. You know that we were 4 in the house. That in a month, I might not see my neighbor once, because when I'm going to work, it's the time they're coming back from work. We just speak on the phone, and you begin to wonder what kind of a life is. Many people have died in the house for months, and nobody will know. No, it's not happening here. People will beg and Leo, shall I fear you? You know, and that's what we enjoy. Then we have natural resources. Look at our foods. Look at our food. There was a time I tried to plant ordinary flower. You know, I had to travel to go and buy soil. They gave me a brochure. They gave me fertilizer. In the morning, 2 cups of water, pour it on, prepare the ground, and after a week, put the seed. I tried that. The thing rose up like this, and the following day, it went down. All right. I'm eating banana in my house now. You know what happened? Okay. Somebody just gave me a banana. I cut it and I just put it on the soil, and it's growing. That's how blessed we are. That was okra in my background. You know, I cut okra, I just throw it down, and before you know it, okra is growing, tomato is growing. That's how blessed we are. You know, so Nigeria is a wonderful place. All we need is good leadership. Singapore was worse than us. Yeah. Look at Singapore.
Even Japan, 70% rock area.
Look at what they have today. So that's why I'm saying that it's hanging on the shoulder of a responsible leader. Okay,
so Doctor, will you agree with me to say that once a giant, always a giant? Okay.
I wouldn't agree with that, because if you're a giant, you know, you need more strength and wisdom, you know, to keep your status as a giant. Okay. It's easier to rise, but it's more difficult to keep yourself at that stage, even in every aspect of life. You know, and I tell youth, you know, it's easier to rise. Charisma will lift you. You know, the gift of a man will make room for him. You know, But what will keep you up is your character. Okay. So if you have charisma without character, you rise, you will fall. You know. So once a giant is not always a giant. You need extra effort to remain a giant. You know, and that's what we are not doing in Nigeria.
Okay, thank you so much for being a part of this show. You've been able to profile a lot of solutions that can help us increase our productivity and nurse our population. But what's your advice to the youth and maybe the citizens in general? How can we help the government? In few words before we go.
We can help the government, especially the youth. You know, white-collar jobs are fewer. Okay. They are not there. You know, but harness your talent. Every man is gifted. You know, there are two facts in life. I tell people, you know, there is no one that does not have anything, and there is no one has nothing. All right, and everyone has something. What I have, you don't have. You know, discover yourself, discover what you have, appreciate it, and try and see how it can work for you. If white-collar job comes, fine. Thank God the government is restructuring the curriculum of schools now. Yeah. You know, it has to stop from being theories alone. Okay, we have to do more of practical. Let us discover the gift of these young ones and harness this in the proper way. You know, so because the youth are the future of this nation.
Thank you so much.
If we are depending on white-collar job, then we will remain where we are. Agriculture is still one of the best exploits, you know, that can help us. We depended on it in this nation, and it worked for us, you know, before the oil boom, you know. So you can still do that. I have a little garden in my compound that I get 1 or 2 things. Everybody should do that. Operation Feed the Nation.
I think that's very profound. OFN, thank you for being a part of this program. Honestly, population is not our problem. Mismanaged population is. Today's discussion has made one thing clear. Nigeria is at a defining moment in its history. We are growing in numbers, but the real question is whether we are growing in value, productivity, and purpose. A nation with over 200 million people should be a powerhouse of ideas, labor, innovation, and economic strength. But without proper data, clear planning, and deliberate investment in people, that strength becomes a strain. To move forward, we need accurate census data. We cannot plan for people we do not know. We must turn our population into a productive force, not a statistic of poverty, and see every Nigerian not as a burden, but as a builder of the nation's future. A special thank you to our guest, Dr. Kunle Okunla, for his insight and perspective. And on his note, he mentioned that once a giant might not always be a giant. The future is not something we enter, it's something we build. I'm Oluwayemi Adelakun saying thank you for being a part of this story. We take a short break, and when we come back, we take Trend Watch. Please stay with us.